Hey, welcome to Ultimate Survival Tips. I'm David. Today we're going to continue our series called Knife Sharpening Boot Camp. We're going to show you how to get sharp, pointy knives every time. In this series, we're going to take a look at things like stone sharpeners, field sharpeners, tool sharpeners, gizmos and gadgets, bench sharpeners, just about any other kind of sharpener you can imagine. Before we're all done with this series, I'm going to show you how to sharpen small knives, large knives, just about any knife in between. But today I've got another cool surprise. I'm going to show you an old school sharpening technique that will help you get shaving sharp edges on just about any knife every time. So let's jump in and use this technique on a dirt cheap stone sharpening set that I got on Amazon US for about 15 bucks to hone a razor sharp edge on my knife. Let's get started. So in session 1, I showed you how to make an angled wedge out of scrap wood to use as a guide to keep a consistent sharpening angle when using a stone. I also shared with you the most common technique that is taught to people who want to learn how to use a sharpening stone, which usually shows up in sharpening stone kits and reads something like this. To sharpen your knife, stroke it across the sharpener with even control at a 20-degree angle between the knife and the sharpener. Alternate blade sides and do the same number of strokes on each side until the blade is sharp. Now this technique will get you a sharp knife with practice, but it's not going to get you really sharp blades. If you want to discover how to get nearly razor sharp edges on your knives using your sharpening stone and don't want to spend a fortune on all kinds of sharpening gadgets and gear, here's what you need. First, you need 2 sharpening stones, a medium and a fine stone. I don't care if they're diamond, synthetic, or natural stones, although I prefer using diamond stones for many reasons, which I'll talk about more in session 5 of this series. But for now, you just need 2 decent stones that are flat. Yep, I said flat. Just throw out any old stones that you might have that are not totally flat or have dips, divots, or grooves. Okay, now as a rule of thumb, your stone should be at least as long as your knife blade. And I say at least. Honestly, the bigger the better, unless you're in the field and need a smaller stone for your bug out bag or something like that. But the more sharpening real estate you have, the easier you're going to be on yourself. So as a general rule of thumb, don't rough it until you have to, especially when you're learning how to hand sharpen your beloved blades. Now you can get a near razor sharp blade with pretty cheap stones. To show you how, I picked up this close to the bottom of the line bare bones 2-stone set from Smith's on Amazon. It's got a medium grit synthetic stone, a smaller fine Arkansas natural stone, and some water-based honing solution that will help lubricate the stone and float away metal and stone particles. Then when you're done, you can just rinse your stones with water. Now on diamond stones, only use water or nothing at all. I usually don't use anything on my diamond stones. Okay. Now we're going to use our 20-degree scrap wood guide that we made in session 1. 20 degrees is ideal for outdoor blades. If you're going to sharpen kitchen knives, just like we talked about in session 1, you might want to cut your wedge to about 16 degrees. And if you're sharpening a large tactical or survival knife, you might want your wedge to be around 23 degrees. Okay, next we need a knife. So I'll be sharpening my brand new Schrade fixed blade knife. Yeah, you heard me right, I said brand new. So here's the deal. It's a nice idea to try and hang with your knife's factory edge angle, but in the long run, to get a shaving sharp edge, you're probably going to have to reset the angle of your blade sooner or later anyway. Okay, now don't panic. You don't have to use a new knife. You can practice on a couple old ones first. So hang in there. What I'm going to show you isn't rocket science. I mean, seriously, if I can do this, anybody can do this. Because it just takes a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of patience, and some palm reading. I'll explain the whole palm reading thing in a bit. Now we always sharpen from a coarser to a finer stone. So to start, place your scrap wood wedge, which should be about the width of your stone, on one end. Next, if you want to use water or honing solution, go ahead and apply some to your stone. Since some water-soluble honing solution came with my kit, I'll use it. Now lay the flat part of the blade on the wood wedge, face the edge of the blade in the direction you're going to stroke, just like we did in session 1. Okay, now stroke the blade across the length of your stone with an even medium pressure, starting from the heel to the tip of the blade, drawing the knife towards your sharpening hand as you go, in a bit of a semicircular motion like this. Make sure to maintain the angle set by the wood wedge throughout your stroke. It seems to be a bit easier to do this if you keep your wrist straight. And make sure the entire length of your blade makes an equal amount of contact with the stone during each stroke. You'll get a feel for this pretty quick. And if you mess up a little bit, don't worry about it. A couple of crappy strokes in your stone probably aren't going to ruin your knife. Now here's the counterintuitive part of this technique. We're going to continue to grind our blade this way until we've removed the old edge and reset it to the new edge angle. You're going to know that you accomplished your mission on this side of the blade when the old bevel is completely gone and the edge of the blade develops a burr on the side opposite to the one you're sharpening. Okay, now burrs develop when the bevel of one side of the blade meets the bevel of the other. This is called raising a burr. Okay, to keep you tracking with me and let you know where we're going with this, the whole key to this step is to grind off the old edge and raise a burr on each side of the blade. This is the absolute key to getting a razor sharp knife. You miss this step and you miss the whole shooting match. Okay, now just to let you know, if you use a medium stone, it may take you up to 150 strokes to reset the angle of your edge, depending on the original edge angle that was on your knife. Now I will tell you this, if you use a medium or a coarse diamond stone, this process could take you as little as 10 or 20 strokes. Now you know another reason why I love a quality diamond stone. Okay, now to check for a burr on your edge, flatten out your palm. Yeah, this is the palm reading part. Now strop your blade backwards from the spine to the edge at a slight angle like this. Once a burr forms, you're going to feel a slight drag on one side of the edge, while the other side will feel smooth. You get the hang of this soon enough, and if both sides of the blade feel smooth, you haven't achieved a burr yet. I use my palm because it's very sensitive and easily detects even the smallest burr. Now remember, it may take you 100 strokes or more before you feel a burr if you're using a stone like mine. So be patient, check for a burr every 20 strokes or so. Now once you feel a burr across the entire length of the blade, flip it over and grind the other side an equal amount until a burr forms. Now use your palm again to test for the burr, like I said, about every 20 strokes or so. Now once you've ground this edge similar to the other side and feel a burr, it's time to get out your fine stone. Now like we did on the medium stone, place your 20-degree wedge on your fine stone. Now here I'm using a wedge that's cut to a smaller width because this fine stone is so dinky. Now I'm not going to use honing solution on my fine stone because I tried it earlier and it made my stone too slick. Okay, now do about 5 strokes on each side. So you're going to do 5 strokes one way and 5 strokes the other way. You're probably going to end up doing between 30 and 50 strokes total, if I had to guess. Now you're going to feel the burr when you start to hone the side that it's on. Now once you feel that the burr's gone, do 2 or 3 more sets of 5 strokes on each side. Now if you look at the blade, the edge should look a lot smoother than it did after using the medium stone, and at this point your edge should be really sharp. Now just a note. In session 4, I'll show you 3 ways to safely test the sharpness of your blade. Okay, now if your edge isn't super sharp at this point, it's pretty likely that you didn't raise a burr on both sides of the edge. And you know what? That's okay. Just go back and repeat the steps in this session. You'll get it, and once you do, you'll be happy that you stuck with it. Now in the next session, we're going to go one step further, and I'll show you how to make your own leather strop, and then use it to polish your edge to make it razor sharp. So don't miss session 3 of this series. Oh, and before I forget, I want to thank Russell Taylor and the kind folks at Taylor Brands, the makers of Smith & Wesson and Schrade knives, for helping me make this series possible. You guys rock! For your convenience, I've included links to the gear that I've mentioned, and other videos in the Knife Sharpening Bootcamp series in the video description on YouTube.
Well, we've just taken a look at an old school sharpening technique that will empower you to put shaving sharp edges on your knife every time.
So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And for more gear reviews, survival tips, and survival news, check out ultimatesurvivaltips.com. And while you're there, grab our monthly survival e-mag, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter to get the latest news and be the first to hear about the great gear giveaway contests we have planned. Okay, this is David. I hope to see you on the other side, and remember, be prepared because you never know.